Spartacus and the slave uprising, a nightmare for the Roman state, erupted in the year 679 in the Roman territory. This rebellion, which captured the curiosity of many in the modern era, was initiated by the Thracian slave Spartacus. His experiences have intrigued many, turning Spartacus into a character sought after in Hollywood epics, ancient age novels, and, at times, an icon according to people's socio-political perspectives, and sometimes even evaluated as an aggressive outlaw. Looking back centuries, researchers believe that Spartacus, bearing the name at Kelch, descended from the Thracian ruler Spartacus in the 5th century BC. According to some, he belonged to the Madi tribe in southwestern Bulgaria. In the 70s BC, when governors waged war against local tribes in Macedonia, the Free Thracian tribes provided assistance to the Romans. However, when the pressure from Pontus king Metellus Sila increased on the eastern borders of Thrace, the Romans started advancing into the Thracian territory. This situation led Spartacus to separate from the Romans and engage in a war for his homeland. Afterward, he became a gladiator after being captured. In captivity, Spartacus formed a small army consisting of escaped slaves and a few free men with nothing to lose. They easily defeated the Roman forces sent to suppress this bloody rebellion, and the Romans, unable to analyze the defeat, still saw the slave uprising as an event they could easily suppress with appropriate methods. To address this perceived failure and restore order, the Romans sent 2 more legions, the descendants of that year's consuls, to the south. However, these legions faced heavy losses and were killed in the battles that followed. Spartacus and some of the gladiators who had previously served in the armies of Rome or Hellenistic kings or participated in various wars among tribes managed to escape. Despite their limited equipment, they overcame the difficulties by using clever tactics, such as creating shields from tree branches and covering them with hides, crossing rivers, and avoiding detection. After Spartacus's victories, freed slaves from the southern regions joined his ranks. The group included shepherds who served as soldiers and contributed significantly to Spartacus's army, as well as slaves working on farms in the south who provided technical support. Despite their victories, Spartacus and Crixus, one of his lieutenants, had a significant ideological disagreement. While Spartacus considered heading north and leaving Italy, Crixus wanted to attack the Romans. This difference of opinion led to the division of the army, with Crixus leaving with a group of Gallic and Germanic warriors. Crixus reached the Garganus Mountains, where he faced the legions led by the consuls of that year, Lucius Gellius Publicola and Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus Clodianus. In the ensuing battle, although Crixus's army suffered heavy losses, they did not allow the Romans to break their defense line. The conflict turned into a series of skirmishes, and despite the Romans inflicting losses, the slave army managed to stand firm. Eventually, Crixus and his men, while outnumbered, launched a final desperate assault, but the Romans held their ground. In the end, Crixus was killed, and his rebellion came to an end. While these events were unfolding, Spartacus redirected his course to the south. He led his army to the region near the Silarius River, where a series of clashes occurred. The Romans, now under the command of the consuls of that year, Lucius Gellius Publicola and Gnaeus Cornelius Lentulus Clodianus, requested help from Marcus Licinius Crassus, who had just returned from Iberia with experienced legions. Crassus, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, took charge of the war against Spartacus. In an attempt to instill fear and discipline among his soldiers, Crassus revived an ancient punishment by selecting 500 soldiers from 2 legions and dividing them into 50 groups of 10. Each group had to draw lots, and the chosen one would be beaten to death by the remaining 9. Meanwhile, Spartacus reached the vicinity of the Silarius River, where a small clash escalated into a full-scale battle. Although the Roman guards rushed to help with digging trenches, some of the slave soldiers joined the fight, turning the skirmish into a full-blown conflict. Spartacus quickly organized his army and engaged Crassus, who led 10 legions in the traditional triplex formation. After a prolonged battle, the disciplined Roman legions gained the upper hand, and the slave army began to dwindle. Spartacus, realizing the inevitability of defeat, fought fiercely but found himself isolated amidst enemy forces. He was eventually killed, and even in his last moments, he defended himself. Some accounts suggest that he managed to escape, but the most widely accepted version is that he perished in the battle. The casualties were immense, with Rome losing around 1,000 soldiers, while nearly 60,000 slaves were killed. To suppress the rebellion, Rome had to recruit an additional 50,000 soldiers. The overall outcome of the war was that Spartacus's legend came to an end, and Rome needed to heal its wounds. Crassus, aiming to provide a lesson for the public, crucified 6,000 surviving rebels along the Appian Way. The war had ended, Spartacus's saga had concluded, and Rome had to rebuild.
I am Spartacus!